Hello, welcome to this little video where I'll be talking through CMI assignment 714, Personal and Professional Development for Strategic Leaders. This is the first of several short sessions. Each video will be something like 10 minutes, where I'll be pulling the assignment apart and working through it and showing some ideas and theories that will hopefully help you to complete the assignment. This session will introduce the paper and some thoughts on how to get it started. So um, the first of several. My name is Alex Furman, and yeah, I will be your tutor as you work through this paper. So there we go, assignment 714. This one is broken down into 5 activities, 5 sections. Each one's an assessment criteria, and it's probably quite helpful to break it down and to think about how you respond to each one in turn. So 1.1 there, which I'm going to just make a start with today on this little video, critically reflect on the interrelationship between the skill set and the mindset to develop as a strategic leader. So there we go, it's our first thing, the interrelationship between skill set and mindset. The next one, critically examine the personal values and behaviors required for strategic leadership practice. Okay, so the first one is about skill set and mindset. The second one, values, behaviors. And again, it's about the interrelationship between those things. 1.3, critically appraise how engagement with personal and professional development impacts on strategic leadership. So what is the role of personal and professional development in evolving and developing as a strategic leader? Why does it matter? 2.1, self-reflection. So critically reflect on your personal, interpersonal, and professional competencies to lead strategically. So I'll talk through some ideas on how to approach that in-depth self-reflection. And 2.2, produce a personal and professional development plan to improve your strategic leadership. So an action plan, and that'll be different for everybody, but it does need to consider personal and professional development objectives and approaches. There we go, and that's it. All done. So 5 sections, and what these little videos will do is pull it apart and look at each one. But this video isn't going to get too far into that just yet. The first thing that you need to do when you start is give us a little statement of context, which is a paragraph or so, which is about you and your role in the organization. It could also include any information or insight about your current strategic or leadership role. So, to what extent are you already leading? If you're not necessarily leading teams or people yet, it could be a little bit about your aspirations. So, what would you like your leadership role to be? What's your interest in engaging with this process? Do you have aspirations to lead teams, departments, or even the wider organization? So statement of context is just a little bit about you. Doesn't need to be particularly long. A paragraph would do, but it's just, yeah, you just tells us a little bit about you and where you are in your professional context. The first assessment criteria starts with critically reflect. So one thing to do with vocational qualifications like this is to look at it, what exactly is the paper asking us to do. So the first bit is asking us to think about critical reflection. So it's just worth actually thinking, what does that actually mean, and what does the CMI say about that? So the CMI's perspective on critical reflection means that we need to consciously contemplate, appraise, or give a balanced consideration to an action or issue. In this case, it's about the mindset and skill set to lead strategically. Um, Going a little bit deeper, it's asking us to go about identifying, questioning, and assessing deeply held beliefs and assumptions about the topic. Again, mindset, skill set. The way in which we perceive events and issues, beliefs, feelings, and actions. So it's really inviting us not just to present theory, but to talk about our beliefs, thoughts, experiences. What does it mean to us as individuals? So with that first assessment criteria, the mindset and skill set to lead strategically, what are your beliefs, assumptions, and thoughts on that? And that will come through in all of these little videos that I give, that I have beliefs and assumptions around this subject matter that will probably shape how I approach um, the theories and insights that I give. So we all have our own beliefs and assumptions about strategic leadership practice, but what does it mean to you? So that's really what this is asking us to do. Is not just about presenting a set of academic theories. It is inviting you to give your viewpoint and your thoughts. That's what we mean by critically reflect. So it's just really worth paying attention to that. A good place to start is what is a strategic leader? So when we kind of our opening gambit into this assignment could be just a little bit, if maybe a couple of paragraphs or so on what do we mean by a strategic leader? How would you define that? I put up there just as an example of somebody that I think is very interesting in this domain. Satya Nadella, who took over Microsoft in 2014, and I find Microsoft an interesting business, and his story about how he changed the culture is really worth having a look at. So how he brought Microsoft bang up to date to be for a while the world's most valuable organization under his leadership. Just been overtaken, I believe, by Nvidia that do the kind of AI chips. So, but anyway, for a while, Microsoft was sort of in the doldrums. Satya Nadella took it over and led it to be the world's most profitable organization. So or no, not most profitable, the world's most highly valued organization. So, really interesting story, and he did it by focusing on culture. However, a strategic leader is not necessarily about your position in the organization. So, this is what I believe. I don't think it's necessarily about being the person at the top. I think that anybody in the organization can be a strategic leader. It's about how they engage with their work and how they influence what's happening around them. So it may well be someone who creates a vision for their team, department, or organization. So part of being a strategic leader is thinking about the future. What is the future that we're trying to get to and having a kind of creative impact on that. So a strategic leader, I think, is somebody who can create a vision, a compelling vision for where we're going in the future. Again, it doesn't necessarily need to be for the whole organization. It could be just for your team or for ways of working. So it might be that it's the person who's able to or motivated to introduce and support people through some sort of change in the organization. So Satya Nadella there, um, radical organizational cultural change, but it could be more subtle than that. It could be someone who just has ideas and beliefs about how we could work better or more efficiently or in different ways in the future and is able to take people on that journey of change. So I would see that could be a strategic leader. I would see also them being someone who can be instrumental in influencing their organization's culture. I worked briefly for an organization where a young lady came in. She wasn't senior, but she was the organization's first person to look at well-being. And so she was brought in sort of as part of the HR team to look at well-being. And she was with the organization for a number of years. And over that time, she was able to take well-being from being very much sort of on the fringes, something that people didn't really think about or understand or perhaps particularly value, to being really front and center in terms of how the organization works. So she really raised people's awareness to the importance of looking after employee well-being, and she proposed all sorts of really useful ways of doing it. So she was without necessarily being kind of high up in the hierarchy, she was able to bring about an instrumental change to the organization's culture over time by speaking passionately and introducing sensible ideas and making well-being relevant to managers in this fairly tough manufacturing environment. Um, so for me, I would say absolutely a strategic leader, not necessarily at the top of the hierarchy or anything like that, but able to influence effectively and bring about significant change to um, the organization. In this sense, really raising people's awareness to the importance of well-being. So there we go. So what is it? So this is really really good way to start the assignment. What does it mean to you? What are your beliefs about strategic leadership? A little theory that I quite like on this is Steve Radcliffe's Future Engage Deliver. Future is very much about what is the future that we're trying to create. The future is about creating vision. It's often going to be having a deep understanding of your values and your beliefs about leadership, and then making them manifest in the organization. So it could be, creating a vision for the organization. It could also be about thinking, about how you make your values and beliefs real in the world in that organization. So um, what do I care about? What is the change that I want to see and bring about? But also, yeah, what kind of leader do I want to be? So in the future. So part of the first part of the model is to have a kind of a bit of reflection, a deep think, and to really think about the future that you want to create. The engage, who's following? What engages my team or the wider organization? Who's with us? How do we take people on the journey? So we can set out a vision for the future, but that doesn't necessarily mean that people are going to go with us. So the engage bit is thinking about communication, support, engagement of hearts and minds in our vision so that we can take people on that journey. How do we take people with us and deliver? Um, have we got the right people, resources, key stakeholders, all that sort of stuff? And how do we hold people to account? So, to make sure that actually people do what they said that they would do and that we do genuinely deliver what we need to in order to make sure that our vision becomes reality. So again, a slightly different, perhaps moving a little bit more into management here about having kind of making sure that people that we have the right resources in place, and that we have the right level of accountability to make sure that we see progress. So there we go. And the thing about strategic leadership is there's quite a range here. It's quite a broad skill set, so to be able to do all of those three things would be quite something to create a compelling vision for the future, to be able to take people with us on that journey, engage people on that story, but then also create enough accountability to make sure that work gets done. That's quite considerable. You might say part of your consideration here might be, is this actually more than one person can do? Is it actually the case for strategic leadership to happen? We need to have a few different people engaged. Maybe there's actually different skill sets that we need to think about here. So there we go, strategic leadership. A little bit of theory. Steve Radcliffe, future, engage, deliver. I like this theory because it keeps it nice and simple. Create the future, engage hearts and minds, and get it delivered. There we go. The key to this, though, going back to that point about critical reflection, is just to weave in your experiences. What have you seen? What are your beliefs? What are your thoughts on this topic? So there we go. That's how we get started. In my next video, I'm going to talk about skill set and mindset and the interrelationship between the two, which will kind of go into this topic in a little bit more depth. But hopefully what this has done is given you some thoughts about how to begin on this assignment, that first few paragraphs, your statement of context, and then leading into that first question, what do we actually mean by a strategic leader? There we go. I hope that's been helpful. And yep, I hope you get started okay, and look forward to the next video, which will pick it up and go into this first question in a bit more depth.